Who are you using for financing?
Chris Scoville.
Same. Improvi?
And Provify. Yeah. Yeah. I think when it comes to like, well, and my take is the same with just every piece of the business. I don't want to be a pro at financing in house. I don't want to be a pro at marketing in house. I don't want to be. I just want to focus on the sales and marketing from like the standpoint of sales management in house and marketing management in house. Other than that, it's like I want to find the best guys out there that can give us platforms and systems, and they're innovative and they're constantly moving and shaking and they're creating, relationships with people like Regions. That's a new one. They just literally pulled out of left field because we just got rid of um, one of the lenders they had sucked terrible and wasn't living up to their end of the bargain. So they canned them. And like an email later is, hey, we're going to introduce you to Regions Home Improvement Banking. They're nationwide. They have 24-hour hotlines, 7 days a week. So your clients have really good connections there. And then on top of that, like who doesn't know who Regions Bank is? That's game changer. So when you're lending to someone in home, more often than not, they're like, well, I want to talk to my local bank. Well, who do you bank with? We bank with this one. Well, we work with Regions and FMBO. So those are two of your bigger ones. Like, I don't know how more credible you want to be, but at the end of the day, they're not going to hold your note either. It's going to get sold as soon as they underwrite you, you know?
Yeah,
So
I like what Chris has built. And I like Chris, in general. Like there's never a better advocate for
yeah,
Chris than himself. He's just a really genuine guy. And his energy, man, his excitement about what he does, like it's infectious. It's really good. I enjoy him.
it's hard to not want to get excited about financing when you can see that. I mean, it's really simple. And the way that he tells the story, the plot line behind how an interaction should work in a home, um, really does differentiate you. It elevates what you are as a business to that homeowner. It brings them, um, well, it's a huge objection handling tool. First of all, I mean, people can't say they don't have the money when I can make it a low monthly payment for 20 years. Or here's a good example. We just recently were working with a homeowner that was not able to get funding in certain areas with other competitors, and we talked about having the opportunity to work with them on a home equity line of credit. And the guy had a car loan that was kind of upside down. He had student loans that were upside down. Credit score wasn't great, but he had equity in the home. And so by tapping into this, it's a soft credit pull, has the ability to close in 5 days, and they don't do any real inspections. Uh, Gets all of his high interest uh, debt combined into one note and solves a couple of big problems for him, right? It's now I'm not just a deck builder. And
You're a consolidation agent. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like, and that's just because of the way that he also teaches on his calls. I mean, he's in school, SKOOL, which I think is one of the cooler platforms to be able to give people your time and teach them. So
So when you're training your sales reps, how are you introducing financing into your process? Is that more top of funnel, like you're doing direct ads with, landing pages with a pre-application, or is it more in-home when you handle your first objection, you're bringing that up? Like, where are you bringing it in?
yeah, it's an in-home interaction. I don't want to be just sending links out for people to apply because it can get messy that way. But it is brought up on the lead intake process. So as the lead handler is um, doing the qualification call after the client's completed a inquiry, on that call, it's just subtle. Hey, look, just out of curiosity, um, you know, I know you guys are probably still in the information gathering phase. That's why you're asking for quotes and pricing. Is this a project that you're hoping to be able to personally fund, or would you be looking for a funding partner? Um, and the reason we ask that is we do have an in-home consumer credit center that has multitude of options. So if it's something that you guys are interested in, I can have the debt consultant be prepared to unravel some of that for you in person. But yeah, we hadn't thought about that. So yeah, you know, when he comes out, I guess he will be able to give us information. Yeah, and that's where then it's also, hey, also don't forget to ask him about the current promotional items that we're offering, and that gives them more negotiating tactic in person because we do have a promotional right now. It's till the end of the month. It's a back to school special. It's 10% off. Plus, we're throwing in a propane fireplace that's equivalent to about a 12 or $1,300 MSRP.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool feature. But
What percentage of your revenue is financed?
last year, very little. This year, like because we're actually putting it into like the process and asking for that, uh, probably closer to like 40%, 30 or 40% is finance, maybe even more, which that's tapped into work that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten. And we're like in our market, one of the few that's very creative with that. A lot of the other companies aren't even doing it. So therefore they're not getting the business simply because they can't finance it.
What ways you guys differentiating? Like, how are you being creative?
I mean, it really comes down to like what the client's expectation of financing looks like. Some people, when they're, financially prepared to spend money on this, aren't enticed by uh, a 20-year loan. However, if I pitch them on a 12-month same as cash, they're like, "Oh crap, yeah, I mean, we're gonna pay it off in that time frame, so absolutely, that's zero interest on our behalf. I mean, my commission checks alone will take care of that." And so the guy that's got the money is though going, "Oh, I'm gonna use your money."
Yep. That's very similar to us. We mostly use financing as like a bridge.
Yep. It also, like, you're talking bridge, but people have money when they're calling, they just don't have direct access to it right away sometimes, and they have to move things around, so, obviously, we have a 3-day right of rescission clause, so although they can write a check today, I'm not gonna do anything with it for a few days, so they have time to move money, but sometimes it's even like, "Yeah, we're gonna move money, plus I kinda wanna do this, this, and that." No problem. I've had bankers that get better rates than us use our loans as bridge loans to get them through the first, like, few months until until we're going out there to demo the deck, and then they go ahead and they close that loan out, like you're saying, and then just use their own money or their own funding. So, smart moves.
Different strokes for different folks.
Or yeah, I mean, when people understand the velocity of money when they're using other people's and not their own, that's the game, and that's how, golly, the rich just keeps getting richer and the poor just keep burying themselves in whatever they bury themselves in, I don't know. Hopefully, it's
Yeah.
not chicken sandwiches. I heard that that went up too.
Ah, I haven't heard much about that. I've been off social. What's going on with chicken sandwiches? Is
I
that
just
Chick-fil-A?
no, 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 no. I'm kind of one of those like, do you have like a morning email that comes to you that's got like news and stuff about whatever, nothing important. It's like this is the morning brew email, and it comes out, tells you all kinds of detail about like what's in politics, what's in Bitcoin, what's in
Yeah.
stock market. Well, this one I came across a couple weeks ago, and I saw it. It was, did you know that um the McChicken went up 201.6% from 2019 to 2025?
Jeez.
201.6. That's from $1.29 to now it's $3.89. Like, just kinda slid in there underneath the radar, like, "Oh, by the way, here's a price increase," and that's a chicken sandwich. Like, come on, people, everything's going up, everything's expensive, like, and then add, just inflation in general. Like, I had to look at a quote, we were talking about this the other day, I had to look at a quote that someone provided a client from 5 years ago, and he was like, "I just don't understand how things got so expensive," and I was like, "Well, first of all, before we even talk about things getting more expensive, let's talk about inflation alone," and at that point, our number was still less without inflation. It was like, okay, so we are competitive. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but
Yeah, I was reading an article last night about a cookware company in the Midwest, all American assembled, but some imported materials from China because they have this special curing for the steel composite that they use. But they press everything, they forge everything here, like once the raw materials get here. And with the tariffs and everything, I think their cost of goods sold increased over 50%, uh, which was wild. But compared to like some other US based vendors for that, they only increase their price like 15%, because they can control their home base costs. They're still going to be taking a hit, but it was kind of funny reading it because they were interviewing the owner, and he's like, he doesn't even know direct impact of how bad this is going to be yet, and he's all optimistic on everything. He's like, we're staying by our customer. We're going to eat some costs, but like we're going to make it through, and we're not going to raise our price more than 15%. And I was just reading it like, this guy's freaking crazy. Like, you serious? Like,
Yeah.
you're telling me you're going to eat a 35% spread on your raw materials? Like, I don't know. That's wild.
He
But
clearly does not know his numbers.
yeah, which it was weird. It wasn't a large company. I think he said he had like 40 or 50 employees, which is still like a medium-sized company, I would say, for Midwest. But I have a question for you about growth. There's obviously multiple avenues of growth, whether that's top line growth, bottom line growth, people growth, systems and process growth. You can quantify growth in a lot of different ways. And every year is a growth year, and everyone can pat themselves on the back for whatever growth they did personally or professionally. But uh, strictly market share, like if you're looking at, like, let's say total attainable market, um, or total attainable resource in your market. Now, I feel like there's two routes. One, if you're trying to grow market share, acquisition, opening up a satellite office, like all those are attainable and smart ways to go about it. Or you can go and start allocating and acquiring the resources, whether that's, in your example, buying a handrail company, right? And you make all your handrails for your decks in house. And you would, basically say, let's say 40, 60% on that line item in your P&L. Or you go and you white label a composite deck, and have that material that you're sourcing in house, and you're saving, for, let's say 40, 60% on that P&L line item. To allocating people, obviously scheduling manpower, all the resources that go around opening up another location. And I asked this. So one, what do you think is the best option? And I asked this because when I'm talking to roofers, they always do gutters, right? And then when I think about the gutters, they always fabricate their own gutters. They're not going to buy gutters. They buy the machine, they get the raw material, and they're now a gutter company. Also looking at like steel doors and overhead doors. I was at a business group with this guy on the East Coast. He was doing about 15, 20 million in overhead doors, service and install. He bought the fabrication equipment to create and make his own doors and all of his own mechanisms, and he has an engineering department doing R&D on all these aspects. And that's like another way of growth that isn't necessarily sexy, but it's very practical. Like, what are your thoughts on those two avenues of growth?
Two questions I'm going to ask whoever has the direct, because well, the answer in my perspective is going to be, what problem are we trying to solve? First of all, by doing this,
Profitability.
because so if you want profitability, but you're after um, buying another company to be able to increase your profits, or buying into systems and people.
It's
Those
essentially
is that the
buying resources or buying market share. So
so
going deeper in your market or going broader in market acquisition.
yeah. I think yeah, so the problem you're trying to solve is profitability. I think you need to go and be deeper in your process, which would include your, if you're gonna manufacture your own rail or whatever, finding ways to cut cost internally, just going deeper before going wider. That would be the first to take on it. Now knowing the problem you're trying to solve, I think it really also comes down to, I think you can simultaneously do a lot of it. Really, people try, all right, but they fail miserably at it usually because they're trying too many things at once. Which comes down to people. Like, once you identify, I think, the systems and processes and the people in place to do that, then market shares, like, it comes whether you want it or not. Like, you're already going to become the biggest or the baddest. And I can see and watch as companies start that don't really create momentum that way. They think they're doing the right things by dabbling in a lot of different marketing funnels, and it doesn't prove to be able to saturate or create a moat for them. So then they get stuck there, and then they think, well, in the same process, I'm just gonna continue to try and find this extra product somewhere else or this new thing, and they're always on the new thing, right? They're chasing the new thing, so their clients never get to really see the same company. Every year they come out with something different, so there's like no brand there whatsoever. That's my take. I think if you make it really stupid simple as to what you do, why you do it, what you're known for, all products aside, as soon as you tie yourself around a product, you screwed yourself, I think. Because as soon as that product decides they're going to market it differently or change something about the way they produce it or whatever, now guess what? You've just completely lost your secret sauce, right? That's our take on it. Like a deck board's a deck board at the end of the day. You're not really, they're not coming out here to build your deck for you, Ryan. We are. And it's our process that you're paying for. And that's the result. The results show when you look at the experience that people have had with us, and that's the brand. So again, simultaneously, in a long, short answer.
Okay, I like it. I asked that because I had an epiphany on my growth plan. Like obviously
Mm,
KHB is my baby, right? It's the mothership.
mhm.
There's three other entities that are vertically integrated into KHB that are business units, if you will, of
Yeah.
KHB. Have their own owner operators, like function, have their own P&Ls, the whole nine. Um, and I was like, well, I was about to go put an LOI on a location in a new market about 60 minutes north of like our flagship market. And I was like, man, I'm having so many issues at our secondary location already just because of distance, right? Like, obviously, the time to get there, the oversight of management, building out an org chart that's the same but also detached from your existing corporation. Like, it's tough to do. And I was like, man, there has to be like an easier way. And then I was thinking through like acquisition. Like, what if, right, my product is service? Whether that be paint or flooring or drywall or roofing or windows and doors. A kitchen is the end product of 15 individual products going into it, right? And those are individual services that are provided by whether it's us or a trade partner. And so what I'm really debating right now and I'm running the numbers on is I'm like two positions away at KHB from it being more of a lifestyle company. And that's really a general manager and a finance controller. And KHB can float, can do what it's been doing and grow year over year with my direction. And obviously, I wouldn't be going anywhere, but I wouldn't have to be directly calling shots in the office, like just two positions away. I was like, well, if I can get those two positions and then just strictly focus on the acquisitions off the P&L, not expand KHB's market share and footprint, but build deep vertically every single trade and service that's integrated under KHB's umbrella as a business unit, I wouldn't need more market share, kind of like how you're saying, because I would be known for having one. The economy of scale would make us the most economic option in the market, and we'd still be killing margin at every turn. 50-60% gross profit because we have our hand in everything. Two, scheduling, efficiency, communication would all be internalized, so that'd be streamlined as well. Um, and then three, every single company is still a business unit that has its direct to consumer name. So we still have multiple revenue streams. Like for our tile and stone, for example, 60% of our revenue is other GCs and homeowners aside from KHB. So like we're diluting KHB out and they're getting their own market share. So oh no, it was just a thought. I was just thinking about growth and I was like, man, I could try to go start up a whole other location. I'm sure there's other business owners that go through the same thing. Like, how do I grow? And bolting on a 3 to 5 million top line company that already has its employees, already has been in business, has its processes, just bolting that onto my top line and reallocating that business unit to like have, really pull that economy of scale lever with marketing, sales, admin, accounting, like all of that as a shared resource. Everyone's bottom line increases, everyone's overhead decreases, and it's a win-win-win. What are your thoughts? But it also, a lot of people might view that as a shiny thing, you know? They might view it as, well, like, well, but I don't view it as a shiny, maybe I'm justifying it to myself. I don't view it as a shiny thing because it's already a part of the product and service that we offer at KHP. It's just we're accountable to that product and service, but we're not always responsible, right? Like I'm not responsible for the cabinet guy showing up on time. I have no control over his people or his process or his schedule. Same thing with paint, same thing with roofing, all the things that we don't control in house. So in a way, I'm kind of torn on this would pull me away from my business, but it would add immediate top line growth and then over time efficiencies that would increase the bottom line as well.
Yeah, the complexities with having a, uh, that many trades in one project certainly, you know, create a different discussion because in our world now, obviously that we've niched, I don't like the idea of being so in control because at that point, then I'm key man, and whoever I have in this position is always still going to be key man. So then taking the consideration of, okay, now I find subcontractors that are their own business entity, and I'm working directly with the owners of those businesses, informing them what it looks like to be an 18 player with us, and making a partnership out of that. That's not necessarily like I'm not responsible for them, but they're also responsible for their people and they're responsible for their own P&L. So they're like mini managers. And the ones that really work out well with us look at it truly as like they're working directly under the brand of Riverview Decks. Um, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't do it. I would certainly bring in my own people. I would train my own people. The better part of having those in house and, of course, with multiple trades is that there's a lot of cross training, a lot of interaction. Everything's really like synergistic. In my experience in corporate America, through two large merger acquisitions, ultimately becoming a subsidiary of UPS, showed me that during that merger, there are people that are going to stay on board and fight the good fight and blend with the new culture, or they're just going to jump and go somewhere else and you're going to lose them. And then in a large company, I mean, literally when this is no kidding, the company I worked for hired an entire group within our organization. So UPS brought in like 30 employees from my company to go fire all the people that did what we did for in UPS. We went to Richmond and canned like 80 jobs. And we still were able to sustain profitability. We were still afloat. It actually got better. The culture, morale, everything was way more improved. You try that in a small to medium-sized company, you're gonna have a lot of emotional people make comments, things. It's gonna get kind of cancerous. And I'm not saying it can't work,
Yeah.
but
Well, there will
I
be
feel
turnover.
like
And I've seen that with my last acquisition. I bolted on 20 something employees. And the way that merges, things come out in the wash, and there's going to be turnover. There's going to be misalignment. Which is why, like a private equity company goes in, buys something, they cut the bottom 20%, like where's the fat?
immediately
Gone, right?
gone. Yep.
And there's a reason why. One, I think it sets precedence, and two, efficiency and profitability, like, and that's one thing I've seen kind of in my own company in a way too. We have great people, but we're heavy enough now to where everyone can just do what they need to do to get by, and no one's really striving for exceptionalism, right? Everyone is just
Mm,
doing their job, right? They got a job. They align with the mission. They like what we're doing. They like the growth. They see the growth, but they're maybe complacent a little bit, or
yeah.
they're not pushing the boundary to be exceptional in what they're doing. Um, I do think change fixes that. Not necessarily axing 20% of the company, but having that, like, we're here to feast mentality. We're not here to just, sit on our butts. We're here to go hunt, that goes a
Yeah.
long way.
If you're not growing, you're dying. What are you doing for us today? Like that's unfortunately like that is what working in a fast-paced environment that has you know you people in the production process managing it, because if it wasn't up for that, then things just don't get done, and before you know it,
Well,
you're burning yourself.
man, we got a three-tiered management system. We got a site superintendent on site daily. We got a project manager doing logistics, scheduling, finance, budgets, all of that. Then we got our ops manager, right? Who has his hands on all the projects. And what I've found is you get to a point where if you're too top heavy in your company, everyone assumes the next person's doing what you should be doing. Right. So like the superintendent might need something on site. He might just assume the project manager is like already got that covered for tomorrow. No big deal.
Yeah.
Right. The project manager is like, well, that's the site super's deliverable. Like he's managing that job site day to day. He must have already thought about the drywall that has to be there tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and there's no drywall. And the superintendent's like, hey, PM, I thought you scheduled this order. It was like, no, like I thought you were going to grab it. It's only 2 sheets of drywall. And then we don't have drywall for 2 hours. Like little things like that. To where if it was just one person, right? He knows he's fully accountable and responsible for that drywall, and it has to be there tomorrow, or his job's going to be delayed, and all the other things that's going to cause. Um, so it is like once again, I do think your answer was the correct answer and the safe answer. It does come down to people at all times. Um, like every problem in a business comes down to people. Do they get it? Do they want it? Have the capacity, capability? Like all, it's really the blueprint. But
Yeah, and like to your point with people, you sometimes will find, I think, some of the best qualities and traits and the entrepreneur mindset, especially at the earlier stages of developing and creating the systems and process for your business. It's helpful to have somebody who thinks like an entrepreneur but doesn't want to work like that, wants to be an entrepreneur and be under the umbrella of someone who has entrepreneurial mindsets. So that it's a little less risky for them. I think it gives them some freedoms to make mistakes. Even though you and I are both really hard probably to work for, we've still learned that like the only way this works is if you give people responsibilities, set the standard, hold them accountable to it, and make small corrective action plans when things don't go the exact way they should. And then, if it's a remember my first year, it was like, okay, that was a $500 mistake. Crap. All right, that was a $5,000 mistake. Oh gosh. Okay, and then it was like 10,000, 15. And now, I mean, we don't really have, I say this, we don't have massive problems that are $15,000 issues because we communicate and like going back to your point, having a good system, a process that has checklists and checkoffs to hold people accountable. So like, hey, we're doing pre-planning and production planning for this job. Let's go ahead and put the checklist together for what specifically we're going to need. And then PM, I want you to be responsible for identifying when these things are on site. So just inspect them, check them off, make sure they're there and they're good quality so that we don't have to come back out there with 6 extra sheets of drywall because they're all broken. And then superintendent, once the drywall's installed, I need you to verify it and give the project manager the green light to get the next round of materials going. Um, so those are the checklists that have to be built, and it sucks because like we've built checklists, but
they're
then
only
you
as
go
good as
back
they
and
get
say,
used.
well, they don't get used, and I think the biggest reason they don't get used isn't because they don't want to use them, but it's because those specific checklists apply to one unique job that every job's different. So you're like, hold on, we have the framework here though. We just need to sit down and take the time to adjust that checklist specific to this exact job and these, clients' needs. And then we'll have a better approach.
Which, when you talk about accountability, I think that's the core. And behind accountability is leadership.
Correct.
And it's also measurables, right? Because what are we holding accountable? We're holding accountable whether that's a key performance indicator. I view service industry more of a OKR type framework, like the objectives and key results, because like you said, that checklist that was built for this specific project at that specific time is not going to be a copy paste for the next project at a specific date and time for a specific, it's going to be different. But the key result, our objective is the same. Right. So an OKR is like, in my opinion, a more efficient and accurate way to track outcomes. But the leadership side of accountability is huge. And that's one thing that I feel I'm transitioning into. I'm actually going through a book right now, and I can't believe I'm reading it. But one of my buddies who owns his own veterinary practice just started his business like a year ago. He got this book by Dave Ramsey, and I'm not a Dave Ramsey guy, right? Like inherently for personal finance, me and Mr. Ramsey do not align. Um, I think it's a great way to stay poor. But besides that, business wise, it's undeniable like what he has built. Even though I don't believe he
His
built
house is for
something.
sale, by the way, here in Nashville. If you want it, it's like 16 million.
Yeah, I don't believe he bought it cash. Anyways, so with him though, he has the five principles of business, and there's a trailblazer, and all these different. I'm only on chapter like two, but when I was looking through like the synopsis of it, it all came down to once again people. But what do people need? People need leadership, whether that's in business and their personal life and society. Like we have a president for a reason, right? It's a leader. Um, and diving into the leadership aspect, that's probably the biggest ticket that every entrepreneur needs to figure out, whether
Mm,
it's for your subcontractors, for your clients need to be led, your subcontractors need to be led, your employees need to be led, your spouse needs to be led. Like leadership is like the core thing around all these things. So I'm kind of stepping back in a way and looking holistically at all of our systems that we have and all the people that we have, and almost focusing more on the internal DNA of that person and how they need to be led rather than what the outcome needs to be. With the premise, right? My hypothesis is if I can speak to this person the way that they need to be spoken to and lead them the way they need to be led, the outcomes will take care of itself, right? Because the deliverable, the accountability is very clear, but how that person needs to get there is always going to be abstract. It's subjective to that person. There's no, it's inherently not objective because every person is different, just like every job is different. Just the same reason why that spreadsheet and that checklist doesn't work on this project to this project. The same reason why my leadership abilities won't work with, David compared to, my admin, right? Two different people. Um, and that's something that I feel most entrepreneurs I've talked to, whether they're running $300 million companies or doing 300,000 a year, that's kind of what it boils down to. Like the $300 million problem and the $300,000 problem all boil down to leadership, like how we lead. And I think I'm going to dive into that a lot more because I like, and I think everyone that's a business owner inherently thinks they're a decent leader. Like I've always thought myself highly in a leadership capacity, whether that be in sports in high school, sports in college, professionally in my career. But then looking back at it, I'm like, well, this person failed and quit. I had to fire this person because, they weren't meeting their KPIs. I had to fire this person because of attitude and not being a culture fit. What does that boil down to? Well, I'm the root cause of all those things in my
yeah,
leadership is,
yeah, yeah.
right? So I need to be a better leader to retain great employees, to satisfy clients, to have the net profit that I want. Like it all kind of starts there. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that. I know that was kind of a rant, but
No, I mean, my experience with working in roles where leadership was, I mean, primarily the majority of the role, I had some leadership, but um, I never liked leadership. Uh, in fact, actually, I remember a conversation having with my direct report. Hey, when your boss comes in town, I notice he always books golf and dinner with all the other leaders, but I don't get the invitation. And he goes, "Yeah, that's because you're not doing anything wrong. Like, and so you don't want to be on that invitation." And I
but I
laughed
want
because
to
then
go
I thought,
golfing.
like, yeah, I want to go golfing, but
Yeah.
no, it really came down to the fact that like I needed to realize what leadership really was, and I noticed that my direct leader, he was always like 10 steps ahead of me. I never really got his time. He was moving so fast. I couldn't keep up at his rate to be in the same arena or rooms as him. And not only that, but those conversations weren't really important to where I was at in my season in my career. So I focused on like the things that I knew I could control. And so I would say as a leader, it's the same thing. Like people want to be inspired. They want to feel like they're part of the rudder in any organization wherever they're at. Whether they're the entrepreneur, the intrapreneur, they're just there for the job. They they want to feel like they're part of all of the decisions that are being made
Purpose.
and a purpose. Yes. And so when you can unify the purpose, in the mission statement and the vision and the core values, and then lead by example, not like in the exact environment, but lead by example in a way you just go, hey, this is typically how this should go. I'm going to leave it up to you. See ya, and move on, and set the example as to what the standard should look like. As you check back in, I think what you'll find is like as a leader may have the ways of all of the processes, and you may have painted this perfect picture as to how it should be, but unless it's third grade legible, unless people see the exact way you see it, it's never going to get done the exact way. So going on, moving on into bigger problems, like I think every business in Hormozy talks about this. I know Uncle Warren talks about it. Businesses have constraints. What is the major constraint that's holding the business back from whatever they're trying to accomplish? So if it's increased profitability, well, is it a data problem? Is it a personnel problem? Is it a systems problem? So ours right now is data. It's a data problem. I have too much data. That's not organized well enough for me to see clearly on the the area of our business to double down on. So I know it's in marketing, and I know it's in specifically in a unique part of that marketing, but now I'm narrowing in even closer to the point where I can go, hold on a second here. If I just fix that one little thing and improve how we're going about putting our marketing together for that, it'll tweak the whole thing. And now we'll have way more. We already have a lot of leads, but having more leads than we need, now it's a scaling thing. Now it's physically personnel, which I've continued to hit. I grow to a point where I need more people and then I come back down. So getting out of the leadership role as a business owner, um, and looking at it from a different perspective. You just mentioned general manager, right? We just hired a general manager, so that's been extremely helpful for me to start like really looking at it from a completely different perspective. At look, yeah, he's good. He knows what he's doing. There's no reason why I should be standing there having to be involved in a lot of these decisions now from a construction perspective, from a material application perspective, nothing like costing. I shouldn't need to be anything for that. Um, Now, am I here as a sounding board? Absolutely. I want to participate because I just feel like it's still sort of new, but ultimately I should not be there, and I should be able to like remove myself and focus more on being a leader 10 steps ahead of where the business is currently. So what does that look like? Well, I'm doing market research in 3 other markets right now. Why? Because I know that that's where our business could explode even more. I'm also digging deeper into, processes and systems within the sales process, like the actual sales cycles and how we're selling. Um, who's a good fit for us? How are we pitching it? What's the tone? All that detail way down in the minutia of psychology behind selling. Because I think when you perfect sales, like I don't care who you are, whatever business you're in, when you perfect that, that is what pays the bills. That's the oxygen.
I
That's
just
the
kind
cash
of
flow.
date
That's the
things for a minute because I have this roadmap in my head, and I'm sure most business owners have the same thing when they're thinking about how like what position do I need next, or like what position should I hire next. And sometimes it's blatant, like you're going from 0 to 1, and it's like I need a freaking carpenter, right? Like I need to get off the bags. Like that's an easy solution. But when you have 40, 50 people, and like a lot of the hats are filled, and it is tough to know what is the most equitable hire, like what is going to be spitting off fruit for years to come, um, or not. And oftentimes knowing what you don't need is a very clear indicator of what you should do. But when you're talking about your general manager and the sales side of it, is the general manager that I want is someone that when revenue needs to be sold, he can step in. Like I'm not going to have a sales manager intentionally. I'm not going to have a sales manager because I want the general manager to be the sales manager, and so he has a pulse on the velocity of our sales process, the gross profit coming through the door, how many leads we have.
yes,
And if he needs to step in, that's the first place he steps in is sales. We
yes,
can always figure out how to produce it. That's fine. But so when I was just thinking about like, well, I want to hire another salesperson. I really want to get a finance controller in here. I want to hire a GM. Like, which one do I do first? It's like I'm partial to just bringing on the general manager. I can go sell, right? Like that's my affinity. I can sell ice to an Eskimo. Like I can get out there and go do my thing. And then it's really just attrition, right? Like let's just keep filtering these leads. Let's keep going through the process. Let's get them through our funnel. Let's get them into operations. And then, he can train with my ops manager on the operations side. He could work with me on the sales side. And then once I get, cause we changed our process a little bit in sales because it's such a long life cycle. For us. Sometimes it's a 6-month design build, life cycle, to where the salespeople I'm hiring now are just selling design. That's it. Just selling to design, 1 to 2 day sales cycle, like in, out, sell design, get it in our designer's plate. Designer and estimator can handle it together. Then he's on to the next one. Go sell another design. Go sell another design. Um, Almost like the solar approach. Like go sell to set up your closer. Like that type of sales approach. Instead of hand holding for 6 months, like you need to get on to the next one. But that's interesting because I do think sales. I've said this many times on this podcast and otherwise. Sales fixes everything till it breaks it, and you want it to break.
Correct. Every time.
Every time you
Every
want it to
time.
break. Yeah, sales fixes
There's
all.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's imagine your business as a vehicle, like you should every day. It's taking you somewhere. The journey is, destination never work again. The journey is destination sell this bad boy. The journey is destination legacy wealth for your whole entire family, whatever that is. But that vehicle could be a Formula One car. It could be a Sprinter van that has party lights and subwoofers. It could be a jalopy. And when you imagine what the journey looks like and what when you get there, when you cross the finish line, the awards ceremony, the party, what is the big bang? What's the feeling you want? And for me, it's totally different than it was when I first started because I didn't expect that any of this could ever happen the way it has. But turns out when you sell a lot, you create problems that have to kind of continue to grow and solve and resolve themselves. So um for us, that vehicle has become more of a Sprinter van with subs, and it's actually getting a bolt-on feature about every month where we're adding in some unique feature to tow a trailer behind us that's got, another Sprinter van on it just in case, because it's a big team and it's a big process and there's a lot of personality in luxury items like this. There's unique ways to look at everything, but I still want it to be simple. It still needs to be very simple. Like it can't be complex. It can't be hard to understand. It can't be, crazy. And that's why I like, running with other business owners that realize like, hold on a second here, you're squirreling. Why are you thinking that way? I mean,
Yeah.
you've got too much going on there. Let's keep this simple.
Which you need that. And, you know, a- and like you said, every day is that car ride. Like, where are you going? Where's the destination? And what I found is it takes a completely different paradigm to grow to that next level every single time. Because you inherently think, like right now I'm facing the 10 to $20 million leap, right? Like to get to 20, who do I need to be as a leader? One, like what paradigms do I have right now? What belief systems do I have right now that are going to limit me to get there? And then who's around me that can help support me to get there? And that's the big obstacle is you inherently think bigger, more complex, more systems, more people, but it's actually quite the opposite because with more people, sure, there's inherent complexities with that, but actually gives you more opportunity to simplify positions and deliverables and roles. Like if you go to Google, for example, I'm sure they just have someone that all they do all day is deliver coffee. You know what I mean? Like very simple deliverable, right? But when Google was 10 people, or let's say 100 people, I'm not sure if they raised money or not and started big, but um, everyone wore a lot of hats. It was inherently chaos and complexity because there was so
Yeah.
much to do, and their constraint in their business was people. They had a great product, great offer, great value prop, pioneers of the internet, but they could only do so much with what they had. And I think that's like when you see SaaS companies and internet companies and general product companies, it's easier to scale because you can compartmentalize that process into specific, simple roles and deliverables for that specific person. And it's no difference in a service company too, in my opinion. It's just getting from 0 to 1, depending what one looks like to you, is a journey. It's a car ride.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of companies that scale extremely fast. You can scale a company fast, but culture
Yeah.
and governance, the two
At what
there,
cost? Yeah.
at what cost? Yeah, and that's where I look at Apple, for instance, right? John Scully, the former president or whatever, he resigned specifically because the board forced him out. They basically said uh, he he clashed with Steve Jobs and was not really thinking the same way. The mindset wasn't there. So they had also stagnated. They'd lost market share. So operational expertise isn't enough, really. You must drive innovation and adapt quickly with technology and stuff. So I see our business here, like I'm only going to be able to get us so far until I have to say somebody else knows more than I do. What what's it going to take for me to either recognize that and step out and create somebody else's leadership, or find a way to develop, adjoining systems and processes. So like there's companies I'm thinking through right now in my head that have created multiple brand channels, and the CEO's really no longer involved with some of that stuff at all, like pulled away. Like I think Motorola, Nokia, Kia, Car. Those are just some that I can think of that they're. I mean, what was Kia had a sports car, right? It was not even like it branded as a sports car. I think we talked about this at one point, but
Yeah, when they
yeah,
did their whole remember when they had that ad campaign, I think it was beginning of this year or beginning of last year, and they had, the new Kia logo and the new like concept cars and like all these things coming out, and it was just so off brand that it
yes.
was just like, what are you guys doing? Like it was like Hyundai and Miata had a baby. It was disgusting. Yeah, it was bad.
And that's not like they have the money to trial that. That's poor market research. That's poor.
It is.
Like they don't know their clientele very well. They're still trying to identify their avatar. And it's crazy to think as a big of a company as they are, that's where they're at. But I think that's due to poor leadership. That's due to, you know, terrible approach with with the product line. But
Yeah, I mean it's really every company has their, like any CEO, I will say, well, like has their hammer, that when they step into that company, they're going to be a marketing oriented CEO, right? Or they're going to be an operations specialist, or they're going to be a sales guru, or like they have their departmental specialty that they bring to the table. I think of Starbucks, and when they transitioned their CEO, he lives here in California, and he takes a private jet up to Seattle weekly, and one of the things that he is doing, but to raise revenue, is like not changing their bread and butter, which is coffee, but keeping up with the Joneses type of thing, like letting other people iterate and test, and then adding a protein coffee because that seems to be like very popular. It was an easy lift for them. Or you look at Tesla, like you have Waymo out there trying to do this self-driving taxi car where it has 50 cameras. It looks like a spaceship on a car, right? Well, then you have Elon who's like, great, let's let them do that, right? But I have Tesla's data repository of every road a Tesla's ever freaking driven on, and I can just copy paste. Now I can do my own. Now I have robo-taxi, right? And I have none of the dev costs or anything like that. And now I can have your Tesla turn into a taxi when you're not driving it, right? He just like did what was smart. And I think that's probably the toughest part for a lot of people is there's a lot of intelligent people out there, but there's not a lot of smart people out there. And just doing what is smart and like the simple common sense next step is really, it sounds really stupid advice, but like it's really invaluable because there's so many, like for us in service industry, there's so many smart simple things that we can do to differentiate ourselves from our competitors who are trying to be intelligent, right? Or they have their MBA and they went to Harvard and they have all these ideas about how they're going to create and redefine the industry. One actual example of that is in San Francisco. There's this company called Make Renovation, who was going to basically productize and turn design build into a SaaS. They have this website, you could get your design, everything is outsourced. They handle the permitting. I don't think they're doing very well right now. I could bite my tongue later, but um, perfect example, right? They try to redefine the wheel here, and it's like, well, they quickly found out every building department is different,
Mhm.
city to city. Every plan check process is different. Every
Yeah.
client and design is unique to that client. Every design has certain intricacies on the installation. Every installer doesn't necessarily have the skill set to do that application. There's a lot more complexities into it. Whereas if they just kept it simple, we only do pre-construction, right? Great. Pre-construction as a service. That's a scalable model, right? But trying to take the whole wheel and redefine it and be this, try to be a trailblazer, um, oftentimes is the stupidest thing you can do.
I mean, my my conversation a couple hours ago um, aligns directly with what you're talking about here. The big ass calendar.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, think about calendars for a second. You know, immediately when you say calendars, do you know of a brand name that makes calendars?
Google.
So a Google Calendar, right? They
Yeah,
did that very well.
they did.
Um, but this dude just took a calendar and print format, made it bigger so you could write on it, and now calls it the big ass calendar, and it's all over the internet. Um, he did the same thing with pickles.
Oh,
So
I've heard of
name
this guy. I've heard of
name
this
a
guy.
pickle brand.
The one with the crane that delivers babies, but also it's a pickle brand. I forget the name of it. Stork? Is it
Dork.
Stork Pickles? I don't know.
So I mean that's crazy that you know that information because it's
I
useless.
used to eat a lot of pickles in my day.
Pickles, but
I was a
the
dill
point
pickle
of
guy.
his business is that like he realized that you can take a commodity
You know,
that doesn't have brand recognition and brand it.
yeah. No, I heard about this dude. He would go to the supermarket and just go down the aisle and see whatever looked the same. Like if there was, for example, like 20 pickle brands and all the branding's the same, everything looks like uniform. He was like, I could disrupt that market. And then he would just go disrupt it.
Yeah, I mean, so and that's his business model. I mean, he's a serial entrepreneur. It's Jesse Itzler. Yeah, I mean, and he's done the big ass calendar. He's done the pickles. He's done. I mean, he's got multiple brands that he's created. He's taken something that he didn't reinvent the wheel. It's something that everybody knows very well, pickles or whatever, and started to brand it and created it. Created a motion and a following. And those pickles, I believe they're in Costco now. So it's like that's a huge like just tripped over a small, $30 million pickle business.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So
Oh my gosh. Dude, so actually, speaking on like simplicity, AI agents are kind of all the rage. And I'm actually really happy with us. We didn't bring up AI once till now, 40 something minutes in. But I'm trying to make it like a simple, like here, I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. Let's do this. Share. Okay. So like in our shared drives, we have all of our different departments and like shared resources or
yeah,
whatever. And in here, this AI memory, I can put like SOPs, commonly asked questions, whatever it may be. Like, what's this, for example? Yeah, like for this, like from lead coming in all the way through finish, like core business processes that are like repeatable. Um, per person, like field team, superintendent, project manager, finance admin, sales, design, marketing. And then the guys have this app, on their phone, like a chat GPT that has all of our data in here and it can kind of prompt them and push them through the process. Now, as I was writing, all of these processes and oh, sorry, you weren't seeing my screen. Um,
no, I see it.
well, I pulled up this process, but
Gotcha.
yeah, anyways. So like with these processes, as like it makes me wonder at what point um and I think it's kind of true now that execution isn't going to be as valuable as it is today in like 20 years. Do you think that's a true statement or do you think it's still
Um,
going to be valuable?
well, I mean, like you're talking about like developing a process and then giving it off to people and having it executed,
Well,
that's not gonna be the
here,
differentiator.
let me see. I think this is the doc. Basically, this doc here, right? Or business processes. Answering a phone call, that's not going to matter in 5 years, right? That's most likely every company is going to transition to some sort of AI voice, AI agent to be taking their calls in the next 5 to 10 years. I wouldn't be surprised. There are already ones right now that are super valuable. Um, and then from that call, the AI is going to have a transcript and it's going to be able to log the inquiry in the CRM, put the relevant details in there, organize them, the Monday board, categorize where that lead came from based off the data, put the tag on it, what type of project. And then, from there, um, using judgment, like it's going to be able to work through like the whole thing. And then like, so from there, sales process, right? What the salesperson is going to be doing. That on-site consultation, like at what point is, I mean, I guess that could still be a person, but truthfully, with the way tech is right now, like right now, today, I can have a client pull up their phone, log into our Matterport, scan their kitchen, send it back to me, have a Google Meet call, and we're all looking at the same thing as if we're all in the same room. No insight consult necessary. And we do this all the time with our remote clients. Um, so like that's not even necessary. And then from there, an AI or some sort of agent can take all the measurements from that, build the as-built floor plans, and then start recommending proposed floor plans based off of space and like ideal function that the client has based off of the console and the phone call, right? So then that takes away from. I'm just like looking at this and it's like I don't think execution is going to be as important. And I'm really kind of having like this impending doom feeling about uh, like the future of business if you're not a direct influence to AI. Because pretty much everything we do, aside like the real specialty stuff, like drywall can be a robot, flooring, paint. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm freaking out a little bit internally, but
Yeah, in my well, whenever you're working with people, they're gonna want a personal relationship. And that's something I don't think will ever go away. And the reason I say that is because I tell everyone in my office this and everybody we interact with constantly, from the subcontractors to the vendors. Derek Johnson with the contractor fight said this a long time ago too. The person that's willing to hand you cash money, um, most oftenly is needing to feel good about what they're giving you that money for. And the only way they do is if you can imagine them wearing a shirt that says, "Make me feel important." And AI, in my um, experiences thus far, it's sharp, it's quick, it's not as witty as I am, it's not as blunt sometimes as I want it to be, and it's not fast thinking in the way of like creative flow. And creative flow happens with chemicals, I think. I mean, when you're connecting with somebody that you really like desire to have a conversation with, it's chemical. Like you're having unique experiences that don't happen with AI, and I don't think that's ever going away. I think with you, and you know what I'm talking about. I guess when you're really into something with somebody, like a conversation that's just like, how do we get to this? How did this like lead this far down the rabbit hole to where we're not talking about like deep memories as a childhood or whatever, like that AI won't pick up on um emotions, and it won't pick up on
until it
tonality.
until it does. That's what scares me.
And when it does, it's gonna be weird. Like it's already weird. When it starts
Yeah,
to assume things for you, you're like, hold on a second, Sally. We're not
yeah.
you and I are not buddies here.
I
Like,
named mine Betsy,
yeah.
and I sometimes I cuss her out. It's like Betsy, shut up. Like, shut up.
I've I don't have like a picture for what my AI character like is, right? You don't know what they look like, but I imagine it's she's she's from Africa, but she's got a British accent. She weighs about 375 pounds, and she knows how to tell me to shut up when I need to shut up. And it's been realizing um for the last few months I've had it changed over because I don't know. I get bored of talking to the other versions. The Australian guy was just annoying to me.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
Are you using Grok? Are you using Chat? Or what are you using?
So it's a blend, I believe. We have Gemini and GPT and Claude. I'll pull it up here for you, and you can actually like see called, I believe, Innate. It's really cool. It's pretty fascinating, but
It'll be even cooler when it's like an actual robot in your office, like standing there as soon as you walk in. Like, how can I help you today? What's up?
right.
What do you want me to do?
Here, let me
I already got your breakfast on your table. Your coffee's really hot,
let's see.
bro.
This is what we built ours off of. This is N8N, but like we have our custom like moonboundai.com that is like running it. This one's name is Albert. Um, but it's pretty cool. Like right here, this one is ChatGPT. Um, but like when you run a query, let me, which honestly, Chuck is the one that's,
Rainy.
yeah, that's our financial one. And so this one is going to be essentially our guys in the field can take a picture of their receipt and based off of, and I could be wrong here, Chuck might yell at me, but based off of location, what they bought, job, all of that, it'll automatically categorize and reconcile that to the project in QuickBooks. So similar to like Ramp, like when you swipe your credit card, it shoots you a text and it says, what job was this for? And then it automatically does that. We just built that ourselves, essentially, which is super cool. But I want to see where Betsy's at. I don't know where Betsy's at.
Y'all already fired her, man.
Huh?
You all already fired her.
I know. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what's kind of like scary is like at some point, um, like this can execute what a full-time person would do,
In
you know,
seconds.
in literal seconds. And
And it doesn't smoke. It'll show up when it's sick.
it works 24/7,
It
baby.
works
Like
24/7 until it doesn't. And then you're like, who knows how to fix that thing?
I think actually I was thinking I was listening to Andy Frisella. It was like it was one of his recent podcasts and he was like we're talking about AI and the younger generations and the dependency that it's creating. Like how these kids, 15, let's say to 25, they're using AI as an operating system, and like they're actually becoming stupider, because like all of
Yeah.
their life decisions
Well,
and their core processes are coming from an AI. Whereas like us, we use it as an extension to and to accelerate what's already been built with our brain. They're using that as their brain, and I think it was Andy that was saying like, so what happened? He's like, what would you do if you were like Carl Swab or you were like, Dr. Evil of the world? What would be your end game with this? He's like, shut the power off. He's like, then what happens? Everyone freaking dies because no one knows how to do anything because they're all
yes.
dependent on technology to do everything for them. And I thought about that too. And I was like, man, in our business, how true is that? Like if Google goes down for a day, my guys can't operate in the field. Like they don't have their plan set on their iPad. They don't if even like when Buildertrend has a blackout here and there, it's like chaos in the office. It's like, I can't submit the RFI. I can't respond to this. I can't do this. I can't adjust the schedule. I can't do the job costing report. I can't, it's like we're so intertwined with technology already that
Well,
it's
there's
terrifying.
also the caliber of person that actually built out that process you just showed that is far few in between in existence. Like most people don't have the time or the thought because that what you've just developed there takes a multitude of experience and knowledge to know how to tie all of it, why it needs to be tied. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
that's not
that came from Moonbound, basically fielding questions from us, like real life cases of like what problems do we have that we can solve with AI. And we started building out custom workflows and automations and agents to fix those things, like really practical things with the goal selfishly to wrap, like basically use us as the beta test. And once it's ready to go to market, start selling it to other contractors. Because if I have that problem at KHB, I guarantee, homeboy in Massachusetts has the same problem. Um, so that was the goal. But what we found is every time we develop something, it's great for internal use. There's already something that went to market. It's
You're too
it's
slow.
moving it's moving so fast, and it's just, us four at Moonbound that are really putting time and effort into it. Whereas you have OpenAI with probably thousands of people, or these tech startups that raised $100 million and they have a whole engineering team working on one widget.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so it's not it's great for internal use, and for at some point when I do bring on partners or private equity or whatever that looks like to go take over the world, literally, um, the IP that we have is going to be very, very valuable in our valuation. That we're not subject to ramp, we're not subject to ChatGPT. Like we have, it's proprietary. It's what we built is ours, which is very important. But anyways, we're a little over. You want to button up? Call it a day?
Yeah, man, that's a lot, I think, for people to hear and take in, and really what we recap here on this call next time will be funny because I think we've been through a pretty big evolution over the last few episodes with stuff that is constraints that identify where businesses don't get out of their own way. People don't get out of their own way, whether it's leadership or technology or, maybe it is a sales cycle or process or marketing or something. So like that's what I'm taking from this call, and total win.